what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm doing the Booktube Real Talk tag. The Booktube Real Talk tag was created by Books with Alyssa J, and it is essentially a set of questions about the Booktube community that might be considered a little bit more real and genuine as compared to what you might hear about the community in passing. I don't actually think anyone tagged me to do this video, but I really enjoyed Riley Marie's video, which I'll link down below, and she also extended it to ask you guys some questions on Instagram, so I did the same, and I'll be answering those at the end of the tag. Question number 1, what is something nobody told you about Booktube before starting your channel? I feel like I definitely underestimated how much hate there really can be in the Booktube community. I also had a previous YouTube channel, so getting a hate comment every now and then was something that I was used to, but it was always from like irrelevant people who obviously didn't actually watch my channel and were just trying to troll or whatever. And even when I first started my channel and would receive comments like that, I always considered like the negative comments to come from people on the outside of the community. Like, to me, the people leaving negative comments weren't people who like actively watched Booktube and were really passionate about being a part of this community, because it was just so different from what I had experienced. But as I've spent more time in the community, I've realized that there is a lot of hate that originates from the avid watchers in the community and even people who might make Booktube videos themselves. It is overall a very small minority of the community because the general experience I've had in Booktube has been overwhelmingly positive, but I definitely entered the community thinking that everything was like rainbows and butterflies, and I've been hit with a harsh reality since joining. Question number 2, what is your opinion on typical Booktube videos like hauls, wrap-ups, and TBRs? I feel like this is sometimes an unpopular opinion, but I love generic Booktube content. Monthly reading wrap-ups are consistently one of my absolute favorite videos to film. Like, I think it is so incredible that I have a documentation on my initial thoughts of every single book I've read pretty much since starting Booktube. I enjoy filming book hauls and talking about the books I've recently acquired and are excited to read, but I also really love watching book hauls because I think it is such an incredible way to get tons of book recommendations in a short period of time. And I feel like out of these 3 content options, TBRs are the most disliked because like it's literally a video about books you haven't read yet. What do you really have to say about them? I personally don't film monthly TBR videos because number 1, I never plan out what I'm gonna read in advance, and number 2, everything I read is going to be talked about in my monthly wrap-up, so I feel like it's kind of redundant. But when it comes to be read videos for like a readathon, that's a really great way to encourage more people to participate in that readathon, and I feel like that's a great time to set goals to read specific books. But when it comes to like a seasonal TBR of like the books you plan to read over your summer vacation, or even a group of books that are all in the same genre that you haven't read yet but are planning to, I just think they are a fantastic way to let your audience know about other books that you're interested in reading very soon. I kind of hate the fact that on Booktube we're really restricted to recommending books that we have actually read and can officially endorse, but there are like so many other books out there that I'm interested in that I know you guys might be interested in, and I feel like TBRs are great ways for you guys to learn about them. And I will be returning to this topic later in this video, but also I think generic Booktube videos are so valuable and crucial to the foundations of this community because they are so easy to make for new booktubers who are just first experimenting with what it's like to film a video about books, and for that I'll be super grateful for them. Question number 3 is, what is an assumption you had about Booktube before you joined? I feel like the current answer I want to give for this question is that I always assumed that Booktube would be really small. And in the grand scheme of YouTube, it still is a really small community. Like, people know about the vlogging community, the beauty community, the gaming community. You don't know about Booktube unless you're already involved in Booktube. For the last 5 years that I've been in the community, it has grown exponentially, and there are so many more people involved in Booktube than I ever imagined there would be. So on the outside, yes, Booktube is a very small online community, but the size of Booktube itself is just growing and growing and growing, and it's way bigger than I ever thought thought it would be. Question number 4 is, what is something that you feel has helped you grow your audience? I don't know if this is really like a tip that I can give to you guys on how to grow your channel, but I always feel like the growth of my channel really started when I was doing weekly reviews of the first season of Shadowhunters. I maybe had like 10,000 or 15,000 subscribers around the time, but in doing those weekly reviews, I just had such a huge viewer turnout. I was getting a lot of subscribers and a lot of attention on those videos, good and bad. Shadowhunters was a hot topic in the booktube community when it first aired. People were watching it because they loved it, and people were hate watching it, and everyone wanted to know what everyone was thinking. So it just happened to be like a really good time to be posting reviews of the show, and by doing it every week and consistently, it just got a lot of attention, and I totally believe that it was a big stepping stone in the growth that I've managed today. Question number 5 is, what is a common mistake you see new booktubers making, or that is one that you have made? This was a problem that persisted with me for like an embarrassingly long amount of time, and it's something that I do keep seeing repeated in the community, and that is not having a filter online. And of course, when I say this, I'm not referring to the very important discussions that we frequently have in the community, issues in the community, or just overall speaking out about something you're passionate about. I fully encourage anyone to use their voice in situations like that because it is incredibly important. But I do think it's beneficial for us to determine when those situations are actually occurring and when maybe we should take some extra time to think like, do I need to share this with my audience right now? Am I fueled by emotion and compulsion to say something, or am I using my intellect to provide a well thought out response to this? And I'm not saying that people should censor themselves or even like, meh, I don't like your hot take, so you shouldn't share it. But as someone who has been in the community a long time and has learned the importance of having an appropriate filter the hard way through backlash and having my oversharing bite me in the butt, being mindful of what you share on the internet and especially how you share it can only benefit you in the end. So maybe take the time to consider, you know, I had this thought and I'm satisfied by acknowledging it and keeping it to myself. Or especially what everyone in the online book community needs to do, booktubers, book bloggers, bookstagrammers, and authors alike, get a group chat of like-minded people in the community that you are close with, can trust, and can have these open discussions with, and vent there. I swear I am not saying this from a patronizing place because I have been in this exact position and I've learned, but learning how to either keep things to yourself or keep them in private conversations has allowed me to feel so much more free and lighter when interacting in the online community, and it's something that like I'm so grateful I learned how to do. So I would really recommend those of you who have those quick Twitter fingers to just maybe consider a little bit more before posting. Question number 6, what are your opinions on booktubers working with publishers and sponsorships? As a little bit of self-promo, I do have quite a few videos talking about sponsorships, working with publishers, and getting arcs from the booktuber's perspective, trying to educate you guys on how it works or maybe how you can get into that position if it's something you're passionate about. So I'll leave any of those videos down below if you want to know like more of my in-depth thoughts and information I have on this topic. And while I do think there is some justified criticism against sponsorships in the community, and like I fully understand many of the reasons as to why people don't like it, but I personally have always been one to encourage sponsorships on Booktube, and that's not just coming from someone who does do sponsorships and work with publishers on my channel as a creator, but that is an opinion I've held since I first started the community and was just a watcher seeing these sponsorships. As a viewer, I've read a ton of books I've really loved that I first heard about because a booktuber was sponsored to talk about it, and I've read some like all-time favorites and books I've really loved as a result of a publisher asking me to make a sponsored video about that book. If anything, I actually appreciate them even more because I get to directly see how they truly benefit the creator, and it's like so much more than just them getting a paycheck. Question number 7, do you think Booktube is dying? I feel like I kind of answered this already. I absolutely do not think Booktube is dying. I think it is so much bigger than it ever has been before, and it is only growing. Literally, like a few of the pioneers of the Booktube community who made it what it was today literally interviewed Michelle Obama, former First Lady, just a few months ago. Like, if there is anything to suggest that Booktube is not dying, it's that. Before I tag some booktube peeps, I'm gonna jump into a few of the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram, so thank you guys so much for all of your insightful questions. How do you deal with haters and negativity? In terms of receiving negative comments like on my videos, I'm trying really hard to get into the practice of just like ignoring them and not engaging. As I've sort of alluded to before, I have like a really bad habit of like clapping back at people, and it's something I'm really trying to change. But I do read virtually every comment I receive on my channel, so I know when people are leaving rude comments, and it is hard not to want to jump in and defend myself. But in those situations where I do respond, I try to be polite and level-headed and like stand my ground and defend myself if I feel like they're being unjust, but also making sure that I'm not being rude or aggressive. The way I see it, if a dedicated subscriber of mine whose opinion of me I hold really highly were to see that comment, I'd want them to not think differently of me. I just think being caught being like very regressive in response to criticism or negativity can be really embarrassing when you really process it. So I just try and be very mindful if I'm going to engage in a conversation with someone about something that they said, and I really try and make it be something that I don't think I would regret later. Does booktube beef occur often? If so, spill the tea, sis. Here's the motherfucking tea. Okay, people love to talk about booktube drama, but absolutely every situation that gets attention is just so dumb. I was talking with one of my booktube friends the other day, and we concluded that the larger community does not know when the actual booktube drama happens. The serious shit talking, the reason behind friendship breakups, the fight between friend groups, the social climbers that have existed in this community, like, y'all don't know anything that constitutes as actual tea in the booktube community. But for real, like, that's the way that it should be. Everyone is nosy. Everyone likes gossip, and if you don't like gossip, you like knowing it. And even though those are things that do occur within the community, it's still personal business that should be dealt with privately, and I actually think it's irresponsible when the viewers get dragged into it. Deal with your shit in private. You don't have to be friends, but when you're forced to interact with one another, be cordial and leave the audience out of it. That's how these things should be. But yeah, next time you think something juicy is going on in the community, just know that a lot of us can't be bothered because we have experienced the pinnacle of what booktube beef really is. What are ways booktube is progressing? Content in 2019 is similar to content from 2014. I don't think you're fully wrong, but I do partially disagree. Book hauls, wrap-ups, TBRs, tags, and even recommendation videos are still pretty much staples of the community, though I would argue that tags have severely slowed down over the years and people are not making them as frequently as they used to. But I think when people are trying to compare how booktube has grown, they see that and they just kind of stop, but there are a lot of differences that have occurred just in the last 5 years of me being in the community. For one, along with tag videos, challenge videos are like non-existent anymore. Like, I literally think that I'm one of the only people that still films challenges because every few months me and Michael will do like a book shopping challenge. But a huge part of booktube in 2014 was people like pulling books off of their shelves and doing challenges, and that just does not happen at all in the community anymore. Individual views have also slowed down tremendously because I think people have sort of caught on to the fact that they do not get a lot of views. But I think there's a ton of new content out there that's becoming more prominent and more staples of the community. Like, for example, like reading vlogs almost did not exist before 2017, and now they're like one of the most popular videos on the platform. Booktubers do reading experiments where they may read the worst reviewed books on Goodreads, or they might read someone else's TBR, they might read the most popular books that became the Goodreads choice winners. Videos like that can take months to film and involve a lot of long-term reading are totally new and innovative. Like, I have videos that I started filming months ago in this category that are still not done. Rant reviews did exist back in the day, but they were nowhere near as popular as they are now, and I feel like unhauls are also still a pretty new thing happening in the community. But as I kind of said before, I don't think it's a bad thing to retain these sort of building blocks of booktube. These sort of low intensity formulaic booktube videos are so crucial for new booktubers who want to get to the point where they can be making these elaborate creative videos, but they don't understand the video making process yet. And having these templates that they can follow and just insert their particular books that they've read or their opinions is so helpful. I do think there are ways in which booktube is stagnant because, like, let's be real, there truly is a limited amount of content you can make about books, but I absolutely believe booktube has grown more more than a lot of people like to believe. What is the nastiest side to Booktube? I absolutely think the nastiest side is the rumors and misinformation that gets spread around, specifically about bigger booktubers. I really don't want to just stand here and like defend myself against all these wrongful assumptions about me, because like literally that sounds so pathetic, but I will give one experience to just explain what this looks like. Last year in my video on the collection of books I acquired at Book Expo and BookCon, I hauled an advanced reader copy of Muse of Nightmares before release date. And a couple of people got really mad at me for that, saying that I was just being greedy and I just wanted all of the popular arcs, and it was wrong of me to take that book away from another fan who was probably waiting online and would have really wanted it because they've already read and loved book one. And you know, if I did that, that would be really shitty, and you should call me out on that. But I didn't do that. I had stated in that video that Muse of Nightmares, as well as a few other books I had mentioned, were given to me as a gift for attending a publisher's party at their office, and it was independent from Book Expo and BookCon. When the publisher submitted the order of books to be printed for Muse of Nightmares, they set aside a specific number to give as gifts to guests of their event. I did not wait online for a copy of Muse of Nightmares. I did not take it away from another fan. I accepted a gift that was intended for me, and I don't deserve to be vilified for that. I understand that the majority of Booktube does not understand how a lot of things work behind the scenes, and it's not always born out of a malicious intent to spread rumors about someone. But the bottom line is people so often spread misinformation about Booktubers, and it's usually either they're ignoring the information that's presented to them, or they are making assumptions and spreading them as fact. And for me personally, that is so much more insulting than any actual criticism that I could receive or any negative comment you could give me about my personal appearance, my channel, or my personality. Are there big cliques in Booktube? In my opinion, no, there's not cliques in Booktube. There's just friend groups that have been established for years. People just assume that because there are these well-known groups of friends that are known to hang out together on Booktube, that like they are not interested in making new friends or opening up their friend group to anyone else, and that's just not true. In real life, you don't walk up to a close group of friends that have existed for a long time and just expect to be integrated as a part of their group as if you've also been there for that length of time, and Booktube shouldn't be expected to work like that either. Some Booktubers are really open to meeting new people and making new friends, and other people are a little bit more closed off, and it will take you more time for them to warm up to you. And that's not because they are snobby or unaccepting of others and don't want to get to know you. It's because of boundaries. Everyone has different levels of boundaries, and they're entitled to have their own boundaries. People literally just assume that if you have a friend group on Booktube, you just do not care about anyone else and you're not interested in getting to know them, and that could not be farther from the truth. And let's finish off the Instagram questions with, how do you feel about people trash talking more mainstream / older Booktubers? I have a lot of opinions on this, and I'm probably gonna piss some people off. I've said this many a time in this video. There is absolutely just criticism on Booktube. It extends to all Booktubers, but there's definitely some that are reserved specifically for big Booktubers because of their level of influence in the community. But you know, it really sucks when like I click on a video like this and I'm excited to hear like a different Booktuber talk about their opinions on this community that I think really highly of. You know, I sit there and I'm like typing up a response to everything they're saying, and I'm really excited about the prospect of like connecting with a new creator I haven't spoken with before, and then all of a sudden they just go into this long spiel about how much they dislike big Booktubers and how they're sellouts that don't care about their subscribers and don't care about books, how we're all the same and we don't deserve our positions at the top of the community. And just that long ass comment I've been reading just goes right to delete because they clearly don't want to hear anything I have to say. The only situation I could compare this to is if you were in public and you overheard people talking about something that you really love, and you're like getting up the courage to maybe say something and maybe talk to them and make some new connections, and then as you get closer you realize they're just talking shit about you. And it really sucks because I have genuinely never encountered a single Booktuber talk down to a smaller channel for anything having to do with the size of their channel, but I so frequently see Booktubers being judged specifically because they are a bigger Booktuber and their individual characteristics are just not being considered whatsoever. You know, there's been this conversation going around about like small Booktubers booktubers versus big booktubers because small booktubers think that big booktubers don't care about them. And I do understand that bigger booktubers are in a bigger position of authority. I think there is a lot more that booktubers can be doing, myself included, to support smaller booktubers, and like a lot of the effort does fall on us to reach out, but at the end of the day, it's still a two-way street. But if you make it clear that you have no intention of getting to know us beyond the interpretations you've already made up about us, we're not gonna want to get to know you either. I'm sorry, but like if you're gonna consistently subtweet big booktubers with all of these big generalizations that you're making, like you should not expect me to want to befriend you, and I'm gonna continue putting my energy into the friends I do have and the smaller booktubers I have been able to befriend because they gave me a chance. I don't say this out of spite, and I don't say it because I can't take criticism. I say it because it hurts when we see it, and we do see it when you post it on a public platform. And so to combine the 8th question of this tag with my final Instagram question, I'm going to be tagging some of my favorite smaller booktubers that you guys should definitely go check out. So all of their channels will be linked in the description below. I'm going to tag The Bookish Babbler, Pucks and Paperbacks, Blonde Books, Common Spence, Transformers, Blonde with a Book, Stories for Coffee, Robbie Reads, Books with Big Hair, Sandy Reads a Lot, and Sophisticated Books. Go check out some of my faves in the description below, and if you happen to be one of the faves I just mentioned, you are tagged, as well as anyone else who would like to do the Booktube Real Talk tag and share their opinions on the community. That is it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on my responses in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!